Then welcome all to session number 7, New Strategic Orientations for Competitive, Sustainable and Inclusive Cities. And now it's time for our second panel discussion, and the theme for the panel is New Insights and Ingredients for a Future-Oriented Research and Training Agenda. And the members of the panel is Arthur Gittis, Roberto Camañi, Yasuhiro Gano, Pia Laula, Abdulaziz Adili, and Mohammed Boulay Yahya. Yeah. So, let's start. And I assume that there is something hiding behind the screen, so to say.
Yes.
Yes.
It did remind me, I was part of a project in the 1960s. It was a project for the development of geography for high school students. And we were looking for a title for it. And it was something like Our Urban World or something of that nature. So that the last century, I think, could be called the urbanizing century. Maybe this century would be called that. So I agree that we're moving into the urban century. But of course, the implications for a statement like that would have to have some facts that prove the point. And I think it would be a very good idea to continue the kinds of discussions we've had here to kind of prove the point. Clearly, we're not entering the rural century, so that is the opposite of an urban century. We could also be called, the century could be called other things. It could have some political connotations. It could have social, cultural connotations. But urban does describe it, although the urban century that I was just a part of, 20th century, had the urban areas have its own characteristics. I think this new urban century that we're moving into might have a modifier in front of it in the future. I'm not sure what that would be. But our urban areas are quite a bit different, it seems, in the last 30 or 40 years than those first urban areas that could be called Burgess central cities. That is, all cities were patterned similarly, and the theories of von Thun and then of others seem to describe the urban areas of that time. I think this urban century would be something different because of the influence of conurbations and large metropolitan areas and metropolitan government. We may be moving into something that is mega-urban or something of that nature. So I wanted to make one other comment, and that is that all cities are in transition, and they are at different stages in their transition. So it's very difficult actually to identify an urban type. In other words, we have, as we heard this morning, new cities being planned and new cities going into existence. But we also have the old cities, we have the declining cities, we have many new kinds of cities in Asia and in other parts of the world. And it would seem to me that we would have to classify our cities in some fashion that allows us to recognize where those urban areas are in their own stages of development. One other comment, and that is, I don't know how much was said in this conference about wealth. And that is, many of the plans that we all have for our cities, these wondrous transportation systems, these lovely parks and monuments and the rest, are all based on a certain degree of wealth and, of course, economic success. And what we don't say is how we can manage with limited resources. We of course consider it when we're about ready to develop our plans, but it would seem to me that the crucial issue is, and the first issue is to develop a strong economic environment, and then many of these plans that we have can in fact take place. Thank you.
Thank you, Arthur. Do we have an agreement within the panel around this statement?
I would like to. Good afternoon on my behalf, and for the very good insights from Professor Geddes. It's quite provocative, the statement on the screen. I would like to ask from the other panelists if our century should tackle people, the urban century, with more than half of the population living in urbanized areas, what will happen to the other half? Because I think we have heard in 2 days here that appropriate relations with rural areas should be part of this development.
Okay, thank you. Okay, but yes, for time reasons, we go to our next question. Audience. 7 scholars argue that there is no natural long-term limit to urbanization, city size, and no limits in the future. Okay, someone in the audience that has a view on this. Thomas.
Yes, if we talk about urbanization, it depends on the sense. I think it depends on the sense we give to urban. It can be modern, Western, it can be developed, it can be citizenship, public good. And if the whole world is becoming urbanized, then can we talk about global citizenship, about free migration as advised by Andreas Rodriguez-Post? And that will be urban world with free migration, with at least some understanding and some control, management of migration, which is. But if it is not, then the urban world as to these urban centers must look at what? At those people that are not able to come to the urban places because they are stopped in some places.
Thank you. Larry?
Yeah, maybe I'm saying kind of the same. Maybe I'm saying kind of the same thing here, but I guess there's 2 questions here. One related to the rural, and obviously, maybe the rural-urban dichotomy just simply doesn't mean anything, which means that urban size doesn't mean anything. It just means size of people living in certain kinds of settlements. And maybe urban doesn't mean anything. Maybe urban is just really the word of settlement. And urban cities as we know them change. And as I was actually thinking about a remark to Art, there was something about what Art said which suggested that there is a city form. And we have always thought of the city, the monocentric city, maybe the European city is different from the U.S. city, from the Latin American city, etc. Grid pattern city, the spoke city, But maybe city takes on, there is no typical form, I guess is what I'm thinking of it, particularly as we diffuse to the point where there isn't a clear rural as we understand it today, in which case there's something else generally called settlement, and urban per se has no meaning. So that may be, I hate to say it, but that maybe means the rank size rule has no meaning. But whatever.
Thank you, Larry. Comments from the panel? Yes, comment.
city size has no limits in the future. Just when I was preparing the paper on equilibrium city size, I was struck by a passage in Masa Fujita's book 89 on urban economics, saying we are speaking about equilibrium size, optimal city size, but in reality, real cities can easily overshoot the optimal size, going far beyond that. Why? Because either decision makers or developers, entrepreneurs don't put into their budgets the negative externalities because they are not paid for directly. So this is a main point. So if we are here not just trying to extrapolate, but trying to find some rules for the government and the governance of cities, I think that we shall come back to the origin. Why cities are there? Why man has started sometime in history to build cities? And of course, the rationale for cities is socialization, is being together, is interaction, social interaction. Everybody remembers the phrase by Aristoteles. He said, "O anthropos politikon zoon." The man is an animal politikon, which means social. And the root, of course, is the same of polis, which is the city. So in the city, the socialization goal is realized by man. So are we sure that a city of any size, and we speak about millionaire and plurimillionaire cities, are necessary to perform this, let's say, intrinsic and genetic role of the city? Are we sure that that idea of launched by Paul Krugman on the relevance of agglomeration is really what we need and what is good in the light of reaching the genetic goal of the city? I don't think so, but hopefully when we speak about a future, an urban future, of course, we don't we don't at all think about a compact city pumped out till as blown out in the same with the same structure, internal physical structure with respect to a present big city. No, we always think about something different, something new. Even the concept of city-region does not necessarily imply that the city-region is just one block of concrete hosting 20 million people. There are different forms, polycentric forms, linking together. The important element is interaction. Facility to have encounters, but also interactions, etc. This future, or urban future, could be something in between the idea of urban villages. But I would rather say a polycentric structure of settlements of different sizes with their own identities, with strong interactions, division of labor, etc., with the surrounding areas. So we have to be very, very precise in defining better what we mean by any size is likely to happen.
Thank you.